Thank you, Dr. Kim. Thanks for your assistance this morning as well.
Well, I'm not sure it was much assistance, but you're welcome.
Well, it at least let me know it wasn't just all going on my end.
Yeah, it was not. It's not your end. All right. Blessings.
Okay. Thanks. Bye. While we're waiting on Michael to dial in, for what we're talking about is Dr. Tim just recently switched over his website to a new format, and we are switching Why Again over to a new format. And I was worked and trained with Susan in Florida for about 3 hours last night, and found out that we had like 2,000 links that weren't working on the new website, and part of them were Dr. Tim's. And so I contacted him last night and this morning, and I wasn't sure if it had something to do with our new one, but I needed to get all those links fixed. And so he was just reassuring me he had run into about the same kind of issue when he switched over. So it's just technology. Such fun. So we welcome you to the second hour of Mindshifters Radio. Today's Monday, May the 17th, 2021. And our calling number is 563-999-3581 and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because it makes it your show. Hello, Lisa and Joan in the chat room. Good to see you. And Ellen, thanks for your comments in the last hour. And our website will be the same, Why Again, WHYAGAIN.org. When it goes live, then the current website will go down. And so we're trying to get all of the links and everything working before we do the switch over. And there'll be a few things that look a little different. We've left some things like the start here in the upper left corner because we've said that on the radio show for so many times. If somebody listens to an archive and then they would go to the site and go, there's not a start here in that corner. So things like that we've left. There's still a bullseye. You have to scroll down a little bit to find it, but the site is absolutely beautiful. It's I thank Susan Giles for her knowledge of WordPress because that's what we're switching over to. And it's supposed to be easier as far as making changes and doing things. And so just be patient with us, and I appreciate it. And those of you that have bought the Stepping Beyond, I've got the first 15. I think I sent those out to everybody. I'm now, as of this morning, up to the first 20, I think. If you find anything really crazy, I mean, there are reproductions of really old cassette tapes, so they're not going to be perfect. But if you find some little crazy glitch or something in it, please let me know. I'm trying to edit them, but I am not listening to all 48 hours as I'm setting them up to put them out on the Vimeo site so you all can stream them down. So if you've gotten them, let me know if there's anything that comes up on those, and I'll get the rest of them out to you. Probably not today or tomorrow. We actually have ARIA for 10 hours today and 10 hours tomorrow, so my computer time is limited to the radio show today. So I'm going to walk in here to the other room and see where Mr. Michael is. So give me just a minute. Okay. Technology all the way around. So we're glad that you're with us. We're glad you're here. And I think I just heard Michael's microphone come on. Welcome, Michael.
Had to dial back in twice. Technology. So welcome, everybody. Delighted once again that you're here, and we get to play and get to look into these amazing principles of healing, opening the space for deeper and deeper levels of the use of the tools, comprehension of the tools, building the brain cells for recognizing healing opportunities when they come, and acquiring skill at using the tools. So here we are, on track, rock and roll. And we are on Chapter 11 of the book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, for our starting point. We're in the section on processing and going unconscious. And we've been working with the character Richard on breathing and understanding what processing means. So the process that, or processing as we're looking at it, is defined as the capacity to hold love, conscious, active, and present when something less than love surfaces. It's the main key in healing. It releases the painful component of every reality unlike love. It's not an intellectual process, though the intellect can initiate it. So we're not looking to engage in something you're going to do with your intellect, but with your intellect understanding that, oh, here I am, there's something moving in me that's less than love, and I can move into the space where it can be processed, where love can be held present, then I can move through it. So that's what we're here to do. And so when love is conscious, active, and present, and something less than that surfaces, that's the opportunity to process, the opportunity to move through that which is less than love. So what processing does is it releases the aliveness within. Once its energy starts to move in you, you can never be the same again. You are changed and transformed forever. When it happens, it may be like a lightning bolt or a gentle breeze. Doesn't matter.
The kind that's prescribed by psychiatrists. I can't remember the name of it, although it's been said to me so many times. Octate or something like that.
Hanging around being taking on the sinner, quote unquote, sinner label may have stemmed from your beliefs about being unjustly accused. We had recently discussed your having been called a sinner, so the idea of being unjustly accused was just beneath the surface in your mind. By repeatedly reminding you to breathe, that which was close to the surface, which was triggered, starts to move. My reminders easily resonated your old feelings about being accused and doing something wrong. So here his perceptual construct about being reminded to breathe when he's holding his breath, all of a sudden brings up this file in his mind that I'm doing something wrong, as opposed to just a reminder that, so when you're holding your breath, energies are locking down, and I'm just here to support you, opening that, letting that free. It's kind of like letting the cat out of the bag. Remember, old suppressed realities distort perception. As a kid, you were probably told 1,000 times that you were a sinner, and he had just shared that with me recently. And each time your pain was reinforced. Your outburst about breathing was aimed at what triggered this old pain. My reminder for you to breathe. Your hidden agitation was expressed as unconscious behavior, an attack toward me. Recall your intention when you apologized to me earlier. Yes, I am willing to be responsible for what I feel, and I'll continue to breathe, he said with determination. As he looked at me, there was a warmth in his eyes I hadn't seen before. Ancient hurts were being transformed into love. I really appreciate your sticking with me through all of this, Michael. A few minutes ago, your reminder seemed like a hassle. Now I feel grateful for it. I can see that a reminder to breathe and the surfacing of old agitation is an opportunity to heal the feelings I have about being called a sinner and being condemned. It's not a reason to attack. And so Richard's stepping into more and more of building the brain cells for understanding what healing looks like. And you know, a reminder is always that healing is not Dr. Feelgood, that when there's energy that has to be moved, then those energies are going to surface. And when they surface, if I've lived in a world where I've always been told that I was the cause of someone else's pain, and I learned that lesson well, and therefore I passed it on. And whenever I was in pain, I always assured somebody else they were the cause of my pain. Then the natural thing would be, when pushed to the edge, when pushed against that which is surfacing, would be for him to turn, and of course turn that on whoever was pushing him. In this case, it was me. And that's just part of the healing process. So remembering that perception is a construct of the mind. Literally, the world you see does not exist in any way, shape, or form that resembles the way you see it. Your perceptual constructs. Remember, we were talking the other day about, the mosquito. The mosquito doesn't see, the fan in the room and the light and the curtains and the TV. The mosquito looks around the room, and its perceptual apparatus is set to pick up on infrared energy, food, survival. Well, if our perceptual systems are set for self-protection because there's been repeated attack, maybe our family system or our culture has been an attacking one, then when that energy, when that information is accessed and attack starts to surface, then it's going to tend to look like attack. It's going to tend to be turned on when the mind first brings it up. And the idea, of course, is to catch things more and more quickly so that you don't have to hang out in that attack mode, either having the discomfort of attack moving within your own system. Remember that line from the worksheet that says, I get the original of what I engage in. They get the carbon copy. So if I'm engaging in attack, I'm the one that receives the energy of attack first. And so the faster I can catch myself and let go of that, what's my job? And, oftentimes as we start to develop the brain cells, the mind will want to talk about its job in terms of what it doesn't want. So somebody says, well, I just don't want to accuse people anymore. So really, so notice that your language is about accusing. Guess what you're going to tend to create? More accusations. Guess what you're going to tend to draw? You're going to tend to draw people who will make accusations. So what do I really want? And I want to move my language in the direction of what I really want. And in this case, it's, when something less than love surfaces, I want to be able to hold to a space of conscious, active, present love, as opposed to I don't want to attack. When I talk about what I don't want, I am in the process of creating it. And it's my speech that will inform me of that. As I become more conscious of my speech and I rid myself of the kind of speech that keeps me in trauma, whether I seem to be taking that trauma out on someone else or not really doesn't matter. If there's trauma moving in me, even if I'm totally and completely puking it on someone else, I'm still getting the original of that trauma. And when I recognize that, I have the opportunity to change the game. And in doing so, I just change literally everything. And, I want to, it's not about saying things properly. I'm always saying things properly. I'm always saying things that are going to reflect as my creative process. So it's not about learning to say things the way that somebody wants us to say it. It's about learning to say things in a way that is in harmony with what I want to create. If my language are from brokenness, and what I'm trying to create is wholeness, then what I'm going to have to do is move out of the language of brokenness into the language of wholeness. And as I learn to do that, then I'm moving in a different direction. Keys in that process is being able to breathe. There's a friend of mine that we were working around this idea of regulatory speech, and he had used the old phrase, cut off your nose to spite your face, but he actually changed the language, and his shift in language was going to cut off his feet so he can't move forward. And so where did that speech come from? How does that speech come forward? Well, about a year before, he had some diabetic neuropathy going on in his feet and his legs and degeneration happening. And there was a conversation about actually amputating his feet. And so to really just watch speech, our speech will inform us as to what's going on within our structure. And what we're looking to do, pair speech, to be honest and look at if I'm down in the bottom of the barrel in my speech, I want to become conscious of and heal what's in the bottom of my barrel, so to speak. And as I do that, the whole thing begins to change. And when the speech naturally issues forward from a space of love, the natural result is going to be creating that space of love. So that's what we're here to do, is to create out of and to bring all of our speech into alignment with bringing forward that space of conscious, active, present love. So we're honored and delighted that you're here to be part of this conversation. And if you are on the line and we can support you, then please push 1 and let's have a conversation. And or if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you, our call-in number is 563-999-3581. 563-999-3581. And if you push 1, call that number. You'll be listening to the show on your phone. And then if you push 1, we'll be having a conversation. So, Miss Jeannie, is there anybody out there in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
I was just looking, Joan had written, I appreciate that you model the integration of work and family responsibilities. I wish every family could do this more. And I think that was in response to that I was, while I was waiting for you to dial in, I was mentioning that there were some glitches, and so the new website wasn't going live yet. And that'd probably be Wednesday before I got around to it because we had Aria for 10 hours today and tomorrow. And so, but nobody has a hand up. It's all quiet.
Okay. Well, the
hand just went up.
Oh, well, then let's say hello.
610, I think it's Susan.
Hi, guys. Boy,
hey, young lady,
you're
welcome.
Running a marathon with a baby and your work, and that's a lot.
Well, actually, she's running about 4 marathons, so.
Right. I do have a question, but I wanted to ask how your dad was, Jeannie.
This morning was a little challenging for me. Michael had to remind me to breathe. But, his memory seems to be getting worse. He just needs direction on everything. Even to the point of take off your shoes and take your pills and, but
wow,
just part of the process.
Yeah. Do you have support besides Michael?
Well, we've got the home health has been coming in for about 3.5 weeks, and we're supposed to see a physical therapist here today, an occupational therapist here tomorrow, and then a nurse here on Wednesday. And they're supposed to be reassessing today, and so hopefully they'll continue. They're saying that he's not going to improve probably, but if they can just keep him status quo, and it helps me to have him here, whether he's improving or not, it's helping me.
Oh, yeah.
So
I
hope they'll continue.
Yeah. When you said home health, is that somebody that comes once a week or?
They have there's 3 different groups. So one is a physical therapist, and he works more with getting Dad to exercise and try to build muscle. The occupational therapist is more on trying to teach him how to take care of his own hygiene. And he works on balance a lot with the occupational therapist, and that's the one that seems to be a little disappointing or whatever. I like the gentleman very much. He has a super personality, but he just seems to have given up. He's, this isn't going to work or whatever. and then there's a nurse that comes, and they each, like take his vitals and things like that, and then they work with him in different areas to try to get some improvement,
Mm-hmm.
But I think where they see it challenging is like, they ask him to get up and walk down the hall, and by the time he stands up, he forgot what they want him to do, and so then they have to tell him again to walk down the hall, and,
Wow.
And he still beats us at dominoes.
Yeah, really.
Oh, my God. One of the things, when Tim Bingham and I worked at hospice in Connecticut, we were working on a ward where people were in the last stages of whatever they were doing, but there were Alzheimer's patients there. Now, your dad doesn't have Alzheimer's, right, Jeannie? He just has normal sort of old age dementia?
Right. They said that if someone has Alzheimer's or even dementia, that they don't know that they don't know. And most of the time, Dad knows that he doesn't know. And it gets a little frustrating for him, that he can't remember something. But I can ask him, a lot of times I can ask him a question, or like I've answered a question, and after about the fourth time I'll say, now, that I told you, think about it, what is it? And he can think for a second, and he can give me the right answer.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, but physically he's well, basically, by the sound. Is that right?
Right. Other than his walking and balance, he has to use a walker, and if he didn't have a walker, he couldn't even stand still. But other than that, he's like a horse. I mean, his upper body strength is good.
I mean, he's just like a rock, muscular. He's strong, but
and he's got a fantastic appetite.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But he's kind of slowly disconnecting from his body is what it seems to be.
Yeah. I wonder how that affects the body after a while.
Well, it seems like he's becoming unstable is what's...
Yeah.
Physically, it's becoming more and more unstable.
Right.
But then, we'll turn around and he's cracking a joke and smiling and, understanding the jokes that we're making and such and being of good humor. So, and fortunately, he's still, a lot of folks at that age and with those kind of challenges are pretty miserable, and he's still pretty much sweet and caring and, easy to get along with.
That's wonderful. That is so good, but it's still a lot for you guys. My mom, when she was in her 90s and she was with us, her balance was terrible too. And someone did try to work with her a little, and he said, at this age, and she has lost a lot of the balance, there isn't much we can do to improve it, but just keep her safe from falling and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, fortunately, he's very careful. He's aware enough to be very careful when he walks and steps. So he does pretty much, stay on his feet with his walker. We've had a couple of occasions where he's fallen, but it's usually, we have what we call a shimmy shaker. It's a machine you stand on and just kind of gives him some exercise. And getting on and off of that machine, sometimes he tends to slip and has had not a real fall, but ended up on the floor. He kind of slides down and ends up on the floor. And that's been the challenge. But otherwise, he's really very careful, as he steps and, make sure he's got a hold on something so that he stays safe. So he's got that much awareness.
Yeah. Wow. Well, what an incredible timing. Here it is. The pandemic hit. You got shut down, and you needed to be shut down because you were shut in with your father-in-law and Jeannie's dad, and here you are. Amazing.
We're blessed.
Well, I've never worked with you on a dream, but I had it, and I don't remember my dreams generally, but last night I had a dream that I wanted to ask you about.
Go for it.
Okay. The postman delivered a thick letter from India. It was addressed to someone far away. I think even the address was the sender was from India, and the person to whom it was addressed was from India, but it came into our letterbox. And I wondered why it had been left with me, and it was fat and lumpy. And I wondered why the postman hadn't wanted to deal with. I mean, he would have noticed this letter. It was too fat and interesting looking for him to accidentally drop it through my box. But so I thought I'd better gently open it and see if I could find out anything from inside, to find out, because I couldn't even read the writing. It was like in Hindi or something, or Sanskrit. Beautiful letters. Anyway, I opened it and saw that it was filled with cards, love notes written on these cards, and also many notes on tiny slips of paper that were also love notes, and many trinkets, little gifts. And I got a sense that this was very urgent to return this letter to the person who was supposed to get it. But I couldn't decipher anything. And I just felt a lot of pressure about getting it to the right person, and then I woke up.
Interesting. Well, knowing your history...
Yeah.
Knowing your history with your Eastern studies...
Yeah.
My take would probably be that it was about wisdom. That the package that seemed to be coming to you by accident was about wisdom, and perhaps the part of you that is far away from the truth about yourself, being ready to receive that presence of love, those gifts, those symbols and words of the presence of love. And maybe it's time to receive that on another level when you're thinking in terms of, I have to get it to the person who it's for. Of course, you're in most dream analysis, you are represented by yours truly.
Yeah. Well, I came upon a book the other day that was written in 1937, and Tim and I got it early in our studies with the Hindu swamis we knew in New York. And the title of it is World Within the Mind. And it's what we're trying to learn, that we've created our world, and it's very antiquated. It's a dialogue in there, but it's basically, all I'm thinking of is, I got this message years ago, and I'm still not, maybe I'm getting it now, but it seems amazing to me that, and I remember loving it and getting it back then, but somehow I had to keep getting it and getting it and getting it, and maybe it came through the mail slot this time. I don't know, but it's like what you said about your tape that you made years ago. That how did I know all that stuff? I'm just learning it again. How did I know that stuff? That was brilliant back then. Did I say those things? I feel as if it's the same sort of thing. It's coming around and coming around and coming around. But also, I've been thinking a lot about India. All these fund drives for helping people, CARE, UNICEF, they're all just begging. And we have a sponsored child in India, too, and she's out in the country, and she's been writing to us about how out in the country they are safe because they're isolated. But she said, we can't imagine what it's like for our countrymen in the cities who can't social distance, cannot stop working, have no money for hand sanitizer, no money or access to fresh water with which to wash the hands, no masks. This is, when you think of all these wonderful things we can do to keep ourselves safe, we are spoiled. We're privileged to have those protections, and they don't have them, and they're getting sick. And so anyway, maybe that letter is mixed up in there somewhere too. I don't know. Anyway, I just wanted to ask you if anything came to mind. I do think.
Yeah, my take is it's time to get it on a new level. My take is it's time to get it on a new level, and and getting it to the person who it was really intended for is getting it to your own true being, yourself. So maybe some new revelations getting ready to open up.
That would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
The Course in Miracles lesson for the day is, when I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. And Pam Grout wrote these commentaries. Dr. Tim has been reading them too. Her takes on the lessons ended up with a phrase that I just find so helpful, and it is, we are all in this together. Now, how that connects with, if I'm healed, everybody's healed, and if I'm not healed, others aren't healed. I can see the connection, but it seems so easy to understand if you just hear the words, or if I just hear the words, we are all in this together. There are no enemies. There are no attackers. There are no attackees. And if we're in this together, we're almost one, but my mind can't go to the all one yet. But I can go this far, that we're all in this together.
Right.
And certainly, I'm still watching with the same kind of involvement and enthrallment of the Call the Midwife, and they are all in it together. I just went through the episode where it was the worst winter, 1962, the worst winter in 300 years. Remember that? With the temperature was below zero for days on end, and how those nurses rode their bikes in the ice and snow, and a woman had a baby who appeared to be dead and was stuffed into the nurse's satchel, and he awakened on her way home, and she realized somehow he had been alive all along, and she beat herself up about missing the fact that she hadn't been able to revive him. But oh my God, all in this together seems so well illustrated in that series.
It is.
Anyway, what'd you say?
It is well illustrated, and for me, the other thing about that the recurring theme of that to me is that there's always a soothing voice there in the worst of human drama and trauma, holding to Rahma, holding that space, and assisting those who are ready to process through things to move to that space of connectedness and that space of Rahma.
And no one is left outside of that. That's so gorgeous.
Everybody's included. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for that. I will think about how the letter was really meant for me. Good grief. Of course, it's my dream, so it's got to be, but why couldn't they make it a little plainer, Michael?
Well, you might want to look at how you perhaps make things a little complicated for yourself, the kind of tricks you play on yourself.
That's also true. And something Dr. Tim said has helped me hugely. He said, and this is your phrase, the non-being mind. Forget about the non-being mind. He keeps saying, I am a practical worker. I'm a practical therapist. And I just go back to what I can do and realize and use right now, and then go from there without too much trying to figure it out. And that's as useful as we're all in this together. Those two things seem great. And I hope you guys, go ahead.
The other thought that comes as you're saying that, and you've just reviewed that particular session of Call the Midwife, is the metaphor that's stuck in your mind from it of this child appeared to be dead, but life was still there.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're in our stuff, we appear like life is not really there. Life is not alive in us. And to recognize that it is. It's always there, even when we seem to lose it. And to have a relationship with that, to develop that relationship with that presence of love that sometimes seems dead. To remember that it's there even when it appears that it's not viable.
That's a wonderful thought. It's a really good thought.
So I breathe with you on that thought.
That's good. Thanks.
How are the boys doing?
Oh boy. My middle grandson my daughter's middle boy was staying with us for 2 weeks. And there's a lot to be told about that. And I must stay positive about him because I'm worried about him. And, his modus, unlike his oldest brother, Lukey, who got mad at his dad and fought hard with his dad and went loggerheads with his dad and got bloodied from it, figuratively more than actually, but there were a couple of physical incidents too. This boy saw what was happening to his brother and isolated himself in his bedroom throughout his teenage years. When I would visit there, I would knock on his door to have a visit with him. He would be on his computer or playing his guitar or playing with a little parakeet he had in there, and he had some lizards, too, that he liked, but he stayed in his room. And his mother was the main breadwinner, so she was out at work all day and couldn't do much to draw those boys out. And he did the same thing when he came here. We have this basement, finished basement, no windows, Michael. It's like a dungeon down there, but it's lovely insofar as it has a little kitchen. It's got a half bath. The furnaces are down there, the washing machines, but it's all finished, and he had his own bed, and he brought all of his composing equipment, his computers, his drums. He had packed them all up from school. He came to my house. We unloaded everything into the basement, and he was down there day and night. And I'd go down there and bring him food, or I would invite him out. He came for 2 walks with us during the entire time. He felt safer in the basement. He would come up to eat with us, but as soon as he had eaten, and he eats terribly, he makes these concoctions of different kinds of cold cereal with lots of sugar on it, and he eats them in the basement. He buys himself candy and chips and popcorn. Some of it's not as bad as others, but he's in the basement taking his antidepressant and trying to compose, but I can tell that he, even though he's a hyper-focused kid, he's the exact opposite of ADD. He's hyper-focused. He will go over and over and over a phrase of music over and over and over, trying to tweak this or that, but I could see that his composing isn't going well. And I know he's on something, but I'm sworn to secrecy, so I haven't told anyone. So you can see why this is a huge invitation to worry. So he says he had a good time here. We helped him pack his car. It was hard not to enable him by, pulling him out there and taking him places to have him, which I did. I had his car inspected. He has not had that car inspected in 2 years, and he was going to drive 13 hours. So we went to Jiffy Lube and had them do all the fluids and fix the tires up and all that stuff. But now he's gone, and he's down with his mother, and she's working full-time, and he hasn't decided whether he's going to stay with his father or his mother. So his car is still packed with his stuff, and he's been staying overnight with a friend, and gosh only knows what they're doing over there. So you ask how the boys are. Well, this particular boy is just, I'm doing all I can to see him well and trust that
Did
he'll
he have
be
his
okay.
parakeet with him?
It's long gone, but he has a cat, and the cat's with him, and the cat is a support cat. But the most alarming thing he said to me was, I can't picture being alive past age 30. And he's coming up to his 21st birthday. So I said, what do you want to do with your life? He says, I want to write music. I think I need to go to Australia. There are a lot of bands in Australia. Perth. I want to go to Perth and be in a band and set up a band. And he talks about a dream that's wonderful, but it's so far from what he can do right now. So anyway, you asked, and you got the long answer. That boy is just very much on my radar at the moment.
Mm.
And I can't do worksheets with him. He's just not available to do a worksheet, but I can sort of do them verbally by just, guiding him in certain ways. But I had hoped that he'd listen to the radio show. Nothing. He won't come upstairs until well into the afternoon, and only if we call him and say, come on, we got to get you out for a walk. You need a little sunshine. And he would walk, and he talks about the political situation, and he kind of ruminates on the state of the world and feels as if we're just doomed and done for and there's no hope, that sort of thing. And then goes back down and works on his music. So that's how he is. That's it.
Well, the reason why I asked about the parakeet, and I'm glad to hear he's got a cat, is as you were describing that, the kind of the sense that I had is perhaps that this is a gestation period for him. It's like he's in the womb. And there is, between the parakeet and the cat and the lizard, there's the presence of love there. And he's internally gestating, doing the process he needs to do, perhaps.
I'm hoping.
And there'll come a point where he'll bust out of that womb-like environment into the world and be ready to live.
I have thought that, he has a terrible time making decisions. I took him to Costco to get stuff for his trip and also snacks and stuff that he could have in the basement. And I said, I'm happy to pay for anything as long as it's not candy or soda, anything with a lot of sugar. And I said, I'm pre-diabetic, and as a younger person, I was a sugar addict. I'm still a sugar addict. I stay away from it. He said, you're pre-diabetic? I can't believe it. And I said, well, it does run in my family, but I think I pushed myself over the edge with terrible eating habits. And I get it. I see that you're doing the same thing. And just think about having a good meal or two in a day. Let us feed you. And he did. He would eat a little salad. He's very thin. And where was I going? Oh, yeah, being in the womb. He said, I'm afraid to make a decision. And I said, do you have a sense of what would happen if you stand on one side firmly or on another? And he said, I'll get in trouble. And I'm not sure which side the trouble is, but both sides are dangerous. So he remains undecided and hopes other people will decide for him. So I said a little something. I said, I promise you, I will not judge you on any decision you make, and I just want to hear what you would really like. And so I would state a either or thing, and he kept saying, I don't know. I can't tell. I can't even tell what I want. I have no feeling about what I want. That's how terrified I think he is.
Well, I think that you've reached out and given, it sounds like his early home environment was a dangerous place to go venture out into, and that you represent a safe space, and keep, my highest thought is keep reaching with that safety and that support, and letting him know there is a space where love is conscious, active, and present, and there for him. And perhaps he'll be able to drop that fear and step forward.
Yeah, I hope so. And yet when he got in the car, he drove 13 hours, pretty much nonstop except for the basics. And I called him twice on the road. He sounded fantastic. I'm chilling. I'm having such a good time. The roads are pretty clear, and I'm just sailing through, and I'm loving it. So I don't know what that all means, but I'm glad he was able to do it. Then he got home, and boom, he's not able to decide even whether he's staying with his mom or his dad. Holy mackerel. He's afraid to stay with his dad, but he knows his dad would love to have him. And he's afraid to stay with his mom because his dad will be mad. I don't know, Michael. These kids.
Maybe explain, you think he'd be open to a mind shifter? Maybe give him a mind shifter like, it's safe and healing for me to make a choice and to follow through with my choices.
Wow, that's great. That's easy to remember, but I'll write it down. But yeah, that would be good. We do talk, so yeah, that's a great
maybe
idea.
Explain the mind shifter and get him to do some writing in that regard. And even if he just, he doesn't have any other tools perhaps, but even if he'll write that and see what dumps out on the page and then share it with you, that you can step into process with him around that, around what comes up. About it not being safe or being safe, or what he observed happening with Luke, and what kind of abuse he's trying to avoid, and perhaps open that space to process him through that.
Safe and healing for me to make a decision, and what was the rest, Michael?
To make choices and follow through with those choices.
And follow through, okay. All right. Thanks.
And maybe, or being a safe space will, support him in being able to open up whatever that thought disorder is that leads to such fear, and process through it and let loose of it. He sounds like a very creative young man, and wow, the world is his oyster if he steps into that creativity and gives vent to it.
Yeah. Yeah, he has written one
Now, is this the young man
album.
that also does the woodwork?
No, that's my son's second boy, Charlie.
Ah, okay.
Charlie's the one with, OCD. He has anxiety. He's much more integrated in the world, but he does suffer with these repetitious ruminations about a professor of his that somehow got under his skin. And yet he'll say to me, I know once I get rid of this thought pattern, another one will pop up. I know it's OCD. It's not my healthy mind. And I know what my healthy mind thinks, but I just get into this loop and I can't get out of it. So he's aware of what he's doing.
Maybe offer him a mind shifter too.
Okay.
It's easy for me to be aware. It's easy for me to be aware of my loops and step out into full creativity.
Sure. Easy for me to be aware of my loops
and step outside of them into full creativity.
Okay. That's wonderful.
And I support
That's
your
great.
intuition kicking in fully for both of them so that you're guided to know exactly how to, take them by the metaphorical hand and lead them out of their darkness.
Oh. Yeah.
Good breath. I'm with you on that.
Thanks. The letter came to mind, the letter from India. Just that we take it from here. It's not my fault. That's just one of the little trinkets in the envelope there. That's
well, holding the space
thinking,
for opening.
but I'm going to apply it.
Go for it. I join you in being guided. All right, young lady, well, any other thoughts for you?
No, that's wonderful, Michael. Thanks. I'll step down and sign off.
Holding all three of you in our hearts.
Thanks. Thanks, Jeannie, too.
You're welcome.
All right, blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, Miss Jeannie?
We have 9 minutes.
And everybody, wait till you see the new website. It's looking really sweet, really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I think it's
really
going to be more functional. Yeah, I think it's going to be more functional and easier to get around. And pretty awesome. And if you're out there in listener land, we've got about 10 minutes for conversation. So push one. Let's chat. How can we support you? What's on your mind? 563-999-3581 if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you. If you call that number, you'll be listening to the show. And then if you push 1, that will raise a hand in the phone queue. Gene will introduce you by your area code. What's on your mind? How can we support you?
Well, until someone presses 1, I'll just share this morning when Ryan came and he has breakfast when he brings Aria. And so we were down in the kitchen by ourselves, and I told him that, I said, that Michael and I do some kind of strange things sometimes. I
what?
said,
What?
I said, how we do the breathing and energy work, and I said, we've been doing a lot of that lately. And I said, one of the things that came up for me in the last breath session was when I was about 5 years old and Mom had taken me to the doctor for a checkup or whatever, and he had made the statement that I would grow up to be a pretty young lady. And I was so excited, and I came home and was just, bouncing up and down and told Dad what the doctor said, and then Dad said, yeah, pretty pigeon-toed. And I told Ryan, I said, that has stuck with me all my life. And it was the first put down that I wasn't enough just as I was, that I needed to do something to be more perfect. And I said, Aria is pigeon-toed. Ryan was too. And I said, I've heard Dad comment on her being pigeon-toed a couple times, and it resonates, that memory for me. And I said,
Breathing with you, sweetie.
I want her to know she's beautiful and perfect as she is. And Ryan was a little bit shocked when I shared all that with him. And I told him then in a breath session the other night that my hip was hurting really bad. And what came to me was that the pigeon-toed doesn't come from the foot being turned. It's from the hip being rotated the wrong way. And I said, that we were going to start working with her if she would lay still long enough to let us do it. in rotating her legs. And I said, once we get it down, what we're going to be doing, I said, we'll teach it to you so that you and Gabby can do it with her as well. And he was like, okay. So he was very receptive to that. And we haven't had a chance to work with Arya yet, but
yes, we have.
Have you been doing it?
I haven't had a chance to share with you yet, sweetie, but when you came in this morning,
okay.
I was with her to do the Avicen, and she was laying on the floor, and she put her feet up. And so I took a hold of both of her feet, and, I'd spoken about how we were going to do some orthobiotomy with her. And, I didn't even have to instruct her. As I stretched both of her feet, I gently stretched her legs out and turned her feet outward. She just automatically did, when we do that sort of thing, did the resistance going the other way.
Right.
She did it just fully, totally, without any instruction. And then just tensed everything in her back and her spine and raised her whole body so that her feet, I was holding her feet in that, slightly stretched, turned out position, and she was right up on her shoulders and her neck, stretching her spine out all the way. It was like,
wow.
I couldn't have asked her to do the exercise we were talking about doing more perfectly. She just chimed right in and did it. So
nice.
I hadn't had a chance to share that with you. So, yeah, it was pretty sweet, pretty neat. Like she was
maybe
ready.
You can do it again when she gets up from her nap, and I'll video it so that we can send that to Ryan and Gabby. Awesome.
Yeah, that'll be sweet. It is. It's pretty awesome. I was getting ready to, or thinking about how I could explain to her to turn her feet inward against my outward pull, and she just did it. Both legs, she just did it. It's like,
wow.
Okay. This girl's
nice.
So, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, it was. It's sweet.
We're honored to be able to share these tools with the third generation, and I wish that we had more of it with their kids, but
yeah, it always would have been nice. Hindsight's always 20/20, and wouldn't it have been nice to have more awareness? And here we are with the blessing of the awareness that we have, and we're able to share it and enhance it, and that I really appreciate, sweetie, the fact that individually and together we've both moved into a new level, a new phase of processing, doing our work together, and it's pretty awesome. It's amazing. I'm appreciating the intensive participants. I think the fact that we did the codependence to interdependence communication practicum with two groups back to back the way we did, just the intensity of that, the intensity of the work we've been doing has just opened a whole other level, and it's pretty awesome.
I agree.
So yeah, for sure. And I'm thinking that I've been having some questions from people about laws of living and such, and I'm thinking that maybe instead of teacher training, we'll do laws of living as our next online intensive. We'll see just how people respond to that, see what's wanted next in the process. So, rock and roll.
Awesome. Yeah, I've had a couple people say that they'd like to do the laws of living as well.
Yeah. I'm in a concern mode as to how to set up the time frame. It's normally a 16-day intensive, but I don't think 16 weeks is going to be enough to complete the laws of living if we do it online. But we'll see how it unfolds. And we are down to the last minute or so.
We'll have to send them the lessons, like one a week or whatever, and they'll have to have the means of being able to print it off.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we'll hold the space, and everybody have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Blessings. Bye-bye.